there, I'm Jen Ward with Family Finance Success. At Family Finance Success, my goal is to help you conquer your money and family with a fun, focused, and practical approach. Welcome back. Today we are talking about creating a home of order. And this is going to be a series because as I was trying to research and write all of the different parts to this one video, I just felt that this needed to be a series. So this series will be coming out the first Thursday of every month, and I really don't know how long it's going to be, so you'll just have to hit the subscribe button and come back every Thursday to see if there is a new part to the series. Why do I want to do a series on creating a home of order? Well, I feel led to do this, number one, because I have had a lot of mistakes. I have made a lot of mistakes in trying to create a home of order. I've done everything from being super rigid and militant to order will come by natural fruition, and everything like in between that you could even think of. And the thing that I done wrong was that it was always me. It was always me creating the order. It was never me taking ideas from other people in the family or relying on God or anything. It was always just me trying really, really hard to create this order and this routines and all of this stuff. And it failed every single time. And I got discouraged and I decided it didn't matter. And so I was just like, you know what? It's fine. We're just gonna go be those people that are super spontaneous, and I can't live like that either. This series is really, really just a bunch of my mistakes and then how I figured out to conquer them. And I did it, and now our home doesn't run perfectly. That is absolutely hands down the truth. But there's more order and more structure than there ever has been. And there's been a lot of things that have gone into that. And so I want to talk about the very first thing that has to happen in your home when you want to create a home of order. And for this series, I'm going to be referring to the Bible a lot. If you don't know, Family Finance Success is a Christian business, and I believe wholeheartedly that the Bible has a single answer to life's problem. If you actually read this Bible, you will find so many of the circumstances that we deal with today in 2017 that these people in this Bible dealt with. Now, there will always be some variation to it, but always, always, always refer back to this Bible. So when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do to create some order in the house. And I'm not saying my children ran rampant or that, there was just chaos constantly. It was one of those things where we would try to set systems in place or routines or habits, and they would fail miserably. And it got discouraging because these are things that people should be doing on a normal basis. And it wasn't for lack of discipline or knowledge of how to do it. It was just that we couldn't keep things moving in the right direction. And it was, like I said, discouraging is the best word that I could have for it. When I decided that I wanted to figure out where the mistakes were being made, I went to one of the pretty common passages for women, Proverbs 31. And I read Proverbs 31 a couple of times. I read a lot of commentary on it. And I thought, okay, so there are some things that I could be doing differently. And that's going to be later on in this series. But as I was reading this, Proverbs 31, it talks about the husband and wife, husband and wife, husband and wife. And I'm thinking, okay, so the first thing that I figured out that we were doing wrong in our house was that husband and wife weren't on the same page. I actually want to share with you today on this very first part, a scripture verse from Genesis. And it's very, very common, so you probably already know this if you have read the Bible, but if not, I'm going to share it anyway. It is Genesis 2:24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And when I thought about this, and I did the same thing. I always research commentary and go and get the Greek words and what they actually mean. I realized that that was our first mistake in creating a home of order. Me and my husband have left our parents. We know we are not financially dependent on them. We're not emotionally dependent upon them. So that was the first step. We had completed that step a long time ago. But the one thing that we were doing wrong was that we weren't cleaving to each other. And to cleave to your spouse means that you're best friends. You do things for each other because it is what you would do for your best friend. A lot of people are in situations where the husband and wife are at each other's throats most of the time. And, with being a best friend, that could happen, but that's not usually the case. Usually your best friend, you sharpen each other, right? You challenge each other to do better. You encourage each other. You are there for each other, and thick and thin. And that's what a marriage is supposed to look like. And me and my husband were not portraying that. We were parallel lines most of the time. In a parallel line, they run together like train tracks, and they never really cross. They never really touch each other to really encourage each other and be there for each other. This had to stop. And that was the very first point when we started taking a little bit more control of our family. And that is where it has to start, I think, for everyone. It has to be that the husband and the wife come together, and instead of being these two separate lines in the family, they are one line. And that's what that verse is saying. They cleave their parents. So first, if you are financially or emotionally dependent on your parents, your mother or your father, husband or wife, that needs to stop. And then second, you need to take your two separate lives and you need to have them cross. They need to become one line. And that cross, that intersection where they cross, that is a bunch of chaos. It's a bunch of new things, new territory that you've never been on. So get some counseling or get some mentors. I will 100% say that was one of the things that helped me and my husband was some counseling. So when that cross is there, it is not going to be fun, guys. And you're going to feel like your house is more out of order and more chaos than was whenever you were doing these parallel lines. But for anything good, there is going to be a little bit of upheaval. And so as that cross kind of gets straightened out, you become one and you become this one line. And then next week, we're going to talk about what happens after you become this one line. And in this process of becoming one, there's a lot of things that need to happen. And in the blog post today that is going to be accompanying with this, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that me and my husband went through and a couple of things that we did to just get from these two crazy lines to this. So I hope you'll check out that blog post. I hope that you will read that verse and pray about it and figure out where God is telling you need to be. Maybe it is that first step. Maybe you need to start breaking some emotional ties and financial ties with your family, your parents. Maybe you and your husband are those two lines. Maybe you're at the X, or maybe you're right here and you're like, we're almost one, and God is just telling you there's one more thing you need to do. So wherever it is, that's the first step in creating a home of order. It has to come down the line from you becoming one, you and your husband, and then it comes down to your children. So I hope that this was encouraging today, that you found it helpful, and that you will come back for this series every month, because it has really challenged me writing this to do better in my life, and we're running pretty efficiently right now, and it's been challenging me to just make some changes. So I hope that it'll do the same for you and your family. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will catch you next week. Bye-bye.